Don't get caught up in this trap. Hey guys, Ken here. Welcome back to the channel. I was going to do a what sold video, for March today, but I felt like I came across a subject I wanted to talk to you about that I felt like was, a little more important. Now, this video is going to be totally unscripted. Okay, so bear with me, but I just want to kind of express my heart and my thoughts on this subject, and hopefully it'll benefit you guys. When you're in business for yourself, a lot of people are gravitating towards that these days, and I've expressed that the postcard business is a great business model to be in, and you can actually make a full-time living doing this. But there's a lure, even within the postcard business, a trap that I don't want to see you get caught up in. The way it works is the fact that, when you go on eBay and you do a search, let's say you do a search for vintage postcard, and it opens up all kinds of different search results. Best first, it defaults to that. I forget the name of the setting, but it looks for the best items first, and then you click on highest, plus shipping, and then you go over down on the left column, and then what happens is you click on sold, and you're going to see postcards that have sold for $3,000, $5,000, $2,000, $1,500, $900, whatever, really high dollar amounts. Okay, and you think, oh my goodness, if I could just get those cards, I could make a fortune in postcards. Well, there's other factors that play into that, okay? And this is, like I said, the lure and the trap. The thing that attracts people, I think, to the postcard business is that, yeah, with certain postcards, you can make a lot of money. But there are other things you need to be mindful of within that thought process. First of all, you don't know the whole story behind those solds. I mean, some people on eBay, believe it or not, will bid or buy stuff with bogus accounts, and they'll, win the auction or whatever, and then they have no intention of paying that. And what happens is eBay slaps them with a little slap on the wrist and says, don't do that again. And if they get too many of those, they get their account canceled. But so what? They go out and they open up a new account and they just repeat the same process over because they get a thrill out of doing that. Okay, there's that type of thing you got to be concerned about. Now, if you sell high-end cards, there's also the thought that you're going to attract scammers, especially if you sell internationally. Now, that's why I don't sell internationally. I don't even sell to Alaska and Hawaii, and those are U.S. territories. And I have my reasons for that. But the thing is, these scammers are out there. And what happens is, one of the biggest scams on eBay, let's say somebody buys $1,000 card off you, and you're all excited, but the thing is, it doesn't go into PayPal anymore. It goes into your account on eBay, and eBay manages those payments because you're under managed payments, and they'll hold on to those funds for a certain amount of time, however you have it set up. And then as soon as the buyer gets the card, even though they've paid for it, they immediately file an INAD case against you, which stands for item not as described. Okay, in other words, what they tell eBay in a little note is, I bought this card for $1,000. I thought it was an original. It's a phony. It's a fake. It's a fraud. Okay, this is a knockoff. I've been ripped off. If you don't give me my money back, I'm going to sue eBay. They'll just give them their money back. And see, the thing is, since it's in eBay's account, they just pull it from there before you even get it, and they give it back to the buyer. Okay, now the buyer has their money back. And then what happens is they're supposed to return, that card to you. Do you think they do that? No. They go to the local store, they get a 25-cent card, and they mail that to you. It doesn't matter what it is, because the weight is the same. And then you got to go through legal, and you got to deal with all that. So that's kind of why I stay away from, the high-end sales. But that's a personal decision I've made. I mean, some people, they don't mind selling that stuff, and maybe they've never had a problem. Maybe they've never had a problem selling overseas. But I just choose to run my business that way. That's another thing you got to be considerate of. Getting back to my point about the lure of postcards. And the one thing that I think fools a lot of people, And maybe they have it in the back of their minds. And I've said it before, and other people in business that are serious about business have said it, is that with any business model, even if it's postcards, I don't care what it is, it's going to take time to build. And when I say time to build, I don't mean like it's going to take a month or 3 months or 6 months. It could take a year, it could take 3 years, it could take 5 years, it could take 10 years, it could take 20 years. If you see certain people that are very successful having, postcard businesses or antiques, they have been doing this for a very long time. They have been selling online. They have been reselling for like 10, 15, 20 years to gain that knowledge and to gain those connections with, people they buy from and build those relationships. They have been building that business for a long time. Let's take a couple of examples. Everybody that sells postcards probably knows who John Miller is. Okay, he goes by Popeye's Postcards, and he was off YouTube for a while because he got scammed, but then he got back on recently, and everybody's glad to see him back and everything. And he does extremely well. Here's a man who probably pulls down between $100 to $300 per day. I've seen him do videos where he's advertised that he makes $700-800 in a weekend just on postcards. He makes, I saw one video where he claimed that he made $2,500 in a week. That's some serious money. But the thing people got to realize is that John has been probably doing this for over 20 years. I mean, he retired from his full-time job after 26 years, and now he's doing this postcard thing full-time. He has all this knowledge that he's gained over time, over decades. I mean, he's just built that business model, and his inventory is enormous. I mean, I don't know if you watch his videos, but he's expressed the fact that he considers himself sometimes a hoarder because he's got so many postcards. And recently he even made a purchase on eBay, and he bought 1 million postcards off this seller. I think the seller lives in Wisconsin or something, and he actually had to fly out there, book a flight and fly out there and rent a truck and then get the inventory and then drive it all the way back to the East Coast where he lives. But the thing is, he's got an enormous inventory, and he's got like 26, last time I checked, he had like 26,000 listings in his eBay store. He's probably got more now. Probably got more like 36,000. I don't know. I haven't checked lately. But because of those reasons, that's one of the reasons why he does so well. Because the more you have to list on eBay, the better chances that your postcards come up in search and you make more money. Now, he's had really good days and he's had really bad days. He's even expressed that. One day he did a daily what's sold thing, and he only made like $78 that day. But then I think the next day he made like 300. I don't know. I can't exactly remember. But the thing is, you need to remember that what I'm trying to get to the point is, don't be caught up in the lure of seeing that because these people make so much money selling postcards that, after only maybe a couple of months, you could be making that kind of money, because that's just not reality. Not when it comes to postcards. Now, I'm going to share this experience, and this is nothing against the person. I want to say that up front. Okay, I have no knowledge of this person, no animosity towards them or anything. They were just expressing their concern and their opinion. They had a couple of questions for me. It was on a previous video I did. I think it was the video where I shared, the top 3 reasons why I do postcards, and what number 1 reason is because they're easy to find. Second is they're easy to ship, and the third is they're easy to store, because they don't take up a whole lot of room. When you think about certain people that do like general merchandise, if they have like 3,000 items or 2,500 items in their store, it takes over their whole house, or they have to rent space or have to rent a warehouse. With postcards, it fits on one shelf. It doesn't take up any room at all. That's one of the main reasons why I love it. But see, the thing is, I expressed in that video that at the time I was probably pulling down between 1 and 4 sales a day. And this person chimed in, and like I said, they were expressing their opinion, and basically they said, well, I would love to sell postcards too, but it seems like it's a lot of work. That was the first thing they said. Well, yeah, it is a lot of work. When you work for yourself, you are going to work harder than you've ever worked. You're going to work harder than if you worked for an employer, because when you work for an employer, you just go to your job, you work 8 or 10 hours a day, and you go home. But it doesn't give you the freedom that comes from working for yourself. But that has its own set of logistics. And that's why I wanted to do this video, to share some of that, that thought process with you. This person expressed their opinion about the fact that it seems like a lot of work and you have to do a lot of listings, which you do. It's a numbers game. And they said, I can't live off of what, you're making. They said, I need at least a minimum of $200 a day profit, not gross sales, profit, before I'll even consider it worth my time. Now, that's not a bad goal to work towards. But if you're going to just start out in the postcard business, unless you've got very, very rare cards that you can't find anywhere on eBay, they're in nearly pristine condition, they're very old, they may be antique, maybe out of the mid 1850s, early 1900s, then maybe you can start pulling in that kind of income on a daily basis. Because see, even, you got to take into consideration too, that if you're going to need $200 profit per day, you're probably going to have to sell about $350 to $400 gross sales to get that $200 profit. There's nothing wrong with setting that goal. But if you're looking to make that right out of the gate, or like within a couple of months or 30 days or 60 or 90 days, it's probably not going to happen for you in postcards. It's just, you'd be better off selling like, I don't know, $1,000 designer line watches or something, maybe vintage t-shirts. I know a guy on eBay that sells nothing but vintage t-shirts, and he sells them premium price, like $300, $400, $500 a t-shirt, but he also has to rent a 5,000 square foot warehouse to operate his business out of. I don't know if it's exactly 5,000 feet, but you get the point. See, when you have a business, if depending on what you're selling, you have to either rent space or like if you're just selling general merchandise, it takes over your whole house. It takes over your garage. Okay, you may have to rent space. I know one guy on YouTube that has an eBay business, and he sells on other platforms, and he works out of like 3 or 4 storage units. That's how he runs his business. You've got to have a realistic look and an attitude towards your business as far as what you want to earn and what you want to work to. Because if you just come into this thing and you're thinking, well, I got to have $200 a day profit, and if I can't get that within 30, 60, 90 days, it's not worth my time. Well, then maybe the postcard business isn't for you, because generally most people that sell postcards, like I do, like a lot of people do, we buy these huge lots, we cherry pick out the best cards. We either take the ones that are low value and just put them in a lot and sell them off as a lot and get what we can back for them, or we might, like I do, I just put them. I throw out very few cards, because I always feel like, what is the saying? One man's trash is another man's treasure. Okay, so I just put them at a lower price point and I let them sit there, and I have the free listings every month. Because you sell postcards, I'm in that special category. I get like 10,000 free listings a month. So I don't worry about having to pay for listings. And I hope eBay never takes that away, or I'll be in trouble. But the thing is, I don't worry about, because they also ask me, well, how long have you been doing it? I've been doing it going into 3 years now. Now, I only have like 2,500 listings active right now. I made a sale this morning. And my wife, since she's joined me in the business, on her account, she has like, I think 800 and something. So we've got about, what's 25 and 8? What's that? I'm not good with math. 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. What's that? 3,300 listings. Whereas somebody like John Miller, Popeye's Postcards, he's got like 26,000, 35,000. I don't know what he's got. But when you've got that kind of inventory on eBay, and he sells on other platforms as well, you're going to make a lot more in sales. Because the rule on eBay, the more you have listed, the more you sell. Because your items come up in search more often, and chances are you'll make more sales. Now let's take another example. Don the Auction Professor, you know him. Everybody that kind of knows YouTube knows him. He's been in business 20 years. He's been building that business for 20 years. Now he sells collectibles of all kinds, not just postcards. But when he first started in business, and he expressed this on one of his previous videos, I think he said for the first 3 years, he was selling like clothing and stuff. He wasn't even into collectibles at that time. He was selling like clothing, and for the first 3 years, he said his family, and he had a family to support, wife and children, I guess. And he said for the first 3 years, we lived on ramen noodles because we couldn't afford anything else, but then the business started picking up. But But that's my whole point of what I want to get to you guys. And I hope you get this point. No matter what type of business model you're in, whether it's postcards or whether you're selling general merchandise, electronics, or whatever on eBay or whatever platform you're selling on, it's going to take time. It's going to take a lot of time depending on what you're selling. Because like I said, unless you're selling, rare vintage postcards that nobody else has access to and you've never seen it in their original, like if you had a original of the Titanic sinking, yeah, you could probably sell that for like, I don't know, $3 million or something, and somebody would pay it. Okay. But if you're selling more general cards, you're going to have, it's a numbers game. You're going to have a lot of stock up. You've got to list every day. You got to go to work every day. You got to put your head down every day. And I want to express this to you too. One of the toughest parts about running your own business, I mean, it has a lot of reward. I mean, I have the freedom. I don't have a boss leaning, over my shoulder expecting me to meet a quota. I hated those kind of jobs where, I've been in direct sales all my life. And I used to have bosses just like, leaning over my shoulder, expecting me to make a sales quota every day. And if I didn't get my bonus, and I didn't, they had to have a talk with me and, all that mess. And I don't have to deal with that anymore. You've got to take your business seriously. There are many advantages, but one of the disadvantages, I think, it's not really a disadvantage, but it's something you have to deal with for being in your own business, is that every day, and really get this in your head, if you're in direct sales, like on eBay or whatever platform you sell on, every day starts at 0. Okay? Every day you have to work hard to make that first sale of the day. Now, sometimes it comes early in the morning. I've had sales show up at 3 o'clock in the morning. When I first got up, I usually started about 3 in the morning. I'm an early riser. I've always been that way. My dad was a farmer. I guess I got it from him. But the thing is, I've had sales come in at 3 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning, 6 o'clock in the morning, 7, 9 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 3 in the afternoon, 6 in the evening, 7 in the evening. I've had my first sale of the day come in at 11:30 at night, 30 minutes before the day ended, But it's getting to that first sale that's the hardest, because you have to work at it. You got a list, and you got to just put your head down and go to work. And, they did ask me how long I'd been doing postcards. And they also asked me, well, in my opinion, how long did I think it would take to get to that point of $200 a day profit? Not gross sales, but profit. And I couldn't answer that question because there are too many variables that factor into that. You've got your work ethic. How hard are you willing to work? You've got your demographic area. What's available to you, whether it's thrift stores, estate sales. With the pandemic, even though we're kind of coming out of it now, things, more and more places are opening up. What's available to? How often can you get to this? You might have a full-time job. You can only get to it at certain times, or maybe on the weekends. I know people that have full-time jobs and they can only, source on the weekends. I mean, there's all kinds of different variables that play into that. So I couldn't really answer that question for them. All I could say to them was, I don't really think about it. I've been doing this going on 3 years now. And I don't really think about it. I just put my head down and go to work every day and try to make that first sale. Because that's kind of my goal, to make at least one sale a day to fill that gap. Because every once in a while, it still happens. Even after 3 years, I still get what they call a goose egg day. In other words, there's a gap. Okay, there's no sales that day. I've had it happen on Sundays of all places. You think Sundays, people will just be buying on eBay all the time. I work really hard every day, and I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I'm not in my 20s. A lot of these guys are in their 20s, their 30s, or 40s. I'm like 63 years old. So even though my mind tells me I'm 20, my body reminds me I'm 63. So, something like this morning, I usually get up at 3. I didn't get up till 4 today. And I guess I was tired. I just slept in till about 4, but I got up, I did what I had to do and started my day. And I made my first sale for the day, which is good. But that's the whole thing. That's the thing I want to drive home to you guys. Don't get caught up in the lure, even with postcards, that you're going to get into this thing in a couple of months or even 30 days or whatever, and you're going to make all this money and you're going to become rich, because it depends on the cards you sell. It depends on what people, what the market is willing to bear. In other words, what they're willing to pay. Because if you have a card that you think is valuable, doesn't mean everybody thinks it's valuable. if you have a card that you think is worth a lot of money, one of the mistakes I see a lot of new people make in postcards is they have an old card, like maybe 1907, and they'll put it up for auction thinking, oh, people are going to get into a bidding war and I'm going to make hundreds or thousands of dollars. And then they started at 99 cents and it ends 7 days later at $1.67 or something like that. And then they have to technically, legally, they have to sell it at that point, and they didn't make hardly anything. So that's why I do nothing but buy it now, unless I have a really, really rare card that I come across that I think it's got a lot of value. And I've done my research, and that's another thing. You got to do research. There's so many things, rewards to having your own business, but even though the postcard business is a simple process, it's not an easy business model, because especially if you're like a sole proprietor like I am, a one-person show, it's all on you. I don't have employees. Like Don the auction professor, he has, I think, 10 employees working for him. He has a fairly good-sized company, and he has 10 employees. I'm sure several of those just sit out at a desk all day, and all they do is list. 8, 10 hours a day, 12 hours a day, whatever. I couldn't do that. I couldn't sit at a computer and list for 12 hours a day. I just don't have the stamina. But the thing is, he has that. And then, like I said, he's been in business 20 years. He's gained all that knowledge, all those connections, all those relationships he's built. And that's why he's successful, because he didn't give up. And I know there's been a lot of people on eBay and a lot of people on YouTube lately talking about slow sales on eBay right now. But you got to realize at this time of the year, you usually get slow sales. People are coming off the Christmas holiday. They're paying back their credit cards that they maxed out for Christmas. So maybe they don't have the money to buy your little trinket or your little postcard or whatever. One of the things I've learned in direct sales, and I've been in direct sales all my life, is the fact that people buy when they're ready to buy. You can't coerce them. You can't trick them. I don't care what kind of sales trick you use. If they're not ready to make a purchase, they're not ready. Okay? And that's not going to change. People buy when they're ready to buy. I've had days where I've had 3 or 4 days go by and no sales. And then all of a sudden, cha-ching, 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 cha-ching. And sales happened every day for 2 weeks, without a goose egg day. So what I'm saying to you is, don't get caught up in, thinking that you're going to make all this money selling postcards because you see certain people on eBay making thousands of dollars. Okay? Because you don't know the whole story behind that. You don't even know if they got paid for that. I know one lady who put a postcard up, and her name's Julie, and I follow her on YouTube, and she sells postcards and other things. And she came across a postcard she put up. She figured she'd get $100 for it. Well, 2 people got in a bidding war, and it went up over $400 when it was finished. And I hope she got paid for it, and I wish her all the best and success in that. But see, the thing is, that doesn't happen all the time. You're going to have certain cards that are going to have low value, mid-range value, and higher value. And that's kind of where I concentrate. When I make my sales, they're usually between $4 and $20. Now, I did sell one card last year for about $50 to a collector in New York, I think. It was like 1907, real photo postcard. And I sold one for like $50, and they were very happy with it. 2 days later, they gave me very positive feedback. They were thrilled to get the card, and it worked out. But like I said, there's a lot of scammers out there, and you got to be careful, and you got to be mindful of the fact that it's going to take time. This is a journey you're on, guys. This is not a 100-yard sprint. And anybody that tells you you can make tens of thousands of dollars in postcard sales within like your first 30 days or whatever, they're probably lying to you, because that's just not reality. I mean, think about it. If you were to start a brick and mortar, I use this example a lot. If you were to start a brick and mortar business outside your home, if you were to buy into a franchise for tens of thousands of dollars, I mean, we got coffee shops here in Florence that they won't even talk to you unless you got about 50 grand to throw down and to get the keys to the building. There's all kinds of different variables. That's why selling on eBay is a good business model, and even selling on postcards. Yes. Can you make a good living? Absolutely. Okay. Can you do this full time eventually over time? Yes. I don't make all my income off of just postcard sales. I have other sources of income. My wife is still working. We combine everything, and we're able to stay home and be able to work for ourselves. And that's the way it's been. And that's what we strive for. But if anybody tells you you're going to make thousands of dollars within 30 days or 60 days or 90 days selling postcards, like I said, unless you've got the types of postcards that can command those kind of prices, you probably are going to be very disappointed. Realize that whether you're doing this part-time or whether you're doing it full-time like I do, realize that it's not a get rich quick. There's nothing wrong with having high goals. But if you're going to expect, a lot of money quickly within 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, in postcards, it's probably not going to happen. Because, like I said, most people in postcards, they sell more general postcards. And every once in a while, they'll get some rare ones that they'll sell for a high dollar amount. But most of the time, unless you have access to that inventory, you're going to have to run up the numbers. Now, some people do sell cards for $20, $30, $40, $50. That's fine. But like I said, it depends on the type of card. You can't sell a chrome out of 1996 that's brand new, that doesn't have very interesting subject matter on the card face, and you can't command $100 for that. You can't price yourself outside the market. That's why you have to check comps. You have to check what you can sell it for, what you sold it for. All those things factor in. So I want to encourage you today that if you want to get started in postcards, then by all means do that, but realize that it could take years before you start making the actual money to where you can either quit your job, quit your 9 to 5. It's something that's got to build over time. And if you're not willing to put in the time and put in the effort and put in the work, I mean, getting back to Don the auction professor, he's been doing this for like 20 years or so. He's got 10 employees. He does, they do a lot of the work that he probably doesn't have to do. But the thing is, he still works 14 hours a day. Why? Because he loves what he does. He loves, vintage stuff. He loves doing it. He's loved it for a long time, ever since he found that. So, when you love something, it's not so much work, but the thing is, you're going to have to go to work. You start at zero every day, and you got to make that first sale, and then you just got to continue to make sales. And as you grow your business, another point I wanted to make, I know this video has been going on a long time. I'm sorry about that. I'm trying to think about as many points that I can drive home to you that makes you realize that if you're going to look at this as a real business, you got to treat it like a real business. If you don't, it's going to become a hobby. And that's okay too. If you just want to make a few bucks on here on the side, you can do that. But if you want to really turn serious about this, you don't have to go full-time. You can go part-time and just do it on the weekends like some people do until you make enough to where you can replace your full-time job. But realize that might take years. It may take several years. And as long as your business is moving forward and not stagnant, like for instance, one more point I want to make, and then I'll get off this video. When I first started in 2020, my first quarter, first 3 months, I made like $150 gross. Okay, gross sales. Okay, $150. Okay, now it got better, other quarters, but I'm using the first quarter as an example. Then in 2021, my first quarter, I earned I think it was like $650. So I went from 150 to 650 in the first quarter of the next year. This year, 2022, my third year going into it, I've already earned over $1,000. So the business has been growing exponentially, but it's that kind of thing where you've got to stick with it. You can't quit. Even if sales get low, even if you run through this period where you have no sales, you just put your head down, you go to work, and you will eventually get there if you don't quit, if you don't give up. You've got to want it. Your why has to be big enough as to why you're doing this. Okay, I have a very big why. I have a personal reason why I do this, and I'm not at liberty to share that, but the thing is, it's huge. Okay, my why is huge, but the thing is, it has to be, because you have to be motivated every day. Because see, you don't have a boss looking over your shoulder. You don't have somebody saying, get to work. You don't want to get caught into the trap thinking that somebody has told you, oh, well, you're just going to make, $1,000 within 30 days or whatever. Most of the time in postcards, it's going to take, like I said, most of the people that are making that kind of money, they have 36,000 cards in their inventory or in their eBay stores. I'm not anywhere near that, but I'm working at it every day. The business is growing every day. So that's kind of what I wanted to express to you. So I hope that encourages you. I hope I didn't discourage you because let's face it, everybody's got to start somewhere. Everybody starts out at zero, and then you just build on it year after year, month after month, week after week, year after year. And if you just stick with it, You'll get there. Okay, you just keep listing until something happens. I don't know when that is. I don't even know when it is for me, but I don't think about that. I just put my head down. I go to work every day, and I'm disciplined enough to where I can do that. And if you're not, you need to be, because that's what it's going to take to make that business work. Or else, like I said, it's going to turn into a hobby, and that's okay if that's what you want to do. But if you want to get serious about this, you got to treat it like a real business. You got to work harder than you would work for an employer, because it's all on you. I mean, granted, you could sit around in the bed all day and watch TV and eat bonbons or whatever, but don't be surprised if you don't make any sales that day, because you've got to get up and you've got to go to work. See, work is a 4-letter word that a lot of people don't like. Some people feel entitled and they don't have to work. But the thing is, you've got to go to work, and you've got to work hard. You've got to work very hard. I took the advice of somebody that I considered a mentor years ago, and they basically said, find what you love to do and work really, 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 really hard at it. Don't think you're going to just turn this into a huge 6-figure business by working 2 hours a day when you first start out. Maybe after 10 years, maybe you can cut back to that. I don't know. It all depends on you. It depends on your work ethic. But I just want to encourage you, work hard, don't give up. The postcard business is not going to go away. You've got collectors, you've got scrapbook artists, you've got historians, you got people that just love to collect cards for, because they love the pictures. It's not going to go away. It's like the 3rd most collectible item in the entire world behind coins and stamps. That's why I got into it, and that's why I'm sticking with it, and I'm going to just stick with it until it happens. I'm going to get to my goal is to get to the place where I can make hundreds of dollars every day. I don't know how long that's going to take. I've been at it, going into my 3rd year now. It may take 5 years. It may take 10 years. I don't know. As long as God gives me breath in my body, I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do my best to make it happen. And then one of these days, I'm going to reap the rewards of that. And I'm going to get to that place where, Popeye's Postcards is. And I'm going to get to that place where Don the Auction Professor is, to where I don't have to work as hard, to where I've generated enough sales and I've generated enough inventory in my eBay store to where I'm making those kind of sales on a regular basis. So like I said, I hope I didn't discourage you. I hope I encouraged you. Don't give up. Work hard. Treat it like a real business, and it'll reward you like a real business. Listen, I've rambled on long enough. I told you this thing was going to be totally unscripted, but I hope you got something out of this video. If you did, you know what to do. Smash that like button. It really helps the channel. I appreciate it. I appreciate all my new subscribers. I've been getting some of those lately. I've been seeing coming up in my emails. Appreciate you guys more than you know. And thank you so much for watching the video and putting up with me. Like I said, I hope I've encouraged you, and just keep on keeping on. Do what you love, and the money will come. All right. Eventually, I don't know when, but it'll happen for you. I believe that. I just wish you the best. I wish you all the best in success. I really do. Okay, listen, I got to go. But you guys have a great day, and we'll see you on the next video. Take care, and bye for now.